Hi everyone, it's Jan from Jannplansthings. As you can see, I had a bit of a problem getting my video up this week. It was really difficult to get Humphrey off the notebook. He was not having any of it. But, I thought I might as well film this so you guys could see the trouble I have. I mean, I guess he just senses when I start painting, and he just does not like that at all. There we go, he's attacking now. After a while, I asked my husband to move him for me, because otherwise I would never upload this week's video. But so this week it's a little bit longer because a couple of you requested that I show my sketching process at the beginning. So I'm just showing how I freehand draw the artwork onto the page first. So I picked something a little bit more complicated. Not really. This is actually probably easier to draw than a couple of the ones I've already done this month. I decided to do a caravan, and a caravan's pretty simple. When you're drawing it, I kind of imagine a kind of rectangle and then you add the little front, and I always make sure to curve the corners because I kind of wanted to make it kind of cute. You'll notice that I tend to freehand draw everything, and the only reason I'm doing that with something like this is because the fact that the notebook is dot gridded and I can follow the dots as a guideline. It's kind of like graph paper. I'm very used to that because that's how we kind of draw in architecture. So I think that if you're not used to it in the first place, you might be drawing a few more guidelines. So you might draw the rectangle first, then add the triangle on the front so that you can trace around that. But you'll notice that for something like this, I'll do it all almost freehand directly on without any guidelines. And it's because something like this is straighter than like a painting of flowers or anything like that. A flower, I will tend to do guidelines first because a dot grid doesn't help in that situation. But for something like this, which is a little bit more regular, it's perfectly fine. It also means that, when you're drawing doors and windows and that type of thing, you can always make it just a little bit more straight and even, which is really, really handy. And that's what I think one of the great benefits of using a dot grid is, and that's why I liked using a dot grid a lot at work as well. You'll notice that when I'm drawing little buildings and stuff like this, I tend to always put like little grates and the air conditioning units and things like that, because I feel like that's what really adds some realism to an illustration. It's kind of funny because when you're doing architecture, you try to hide that as much as possible, but when you're drawing, you want to kind of add those back in because it adds a level of realism to it. And I guess more modern buildings, they're much more sleek and clean, but when you want to add a little bit of character and a little old school like cuteness to it, I find that adding those little services and details really, really help in just making a drawing a little bit more believable, even though I am drawing a caravan with a giant suite and a massive cat sitting on it. I just think it adds a little bit of detail, and it just stops it being from like a big plain drawing that I have to fill in a little bit later. So I hope you guys find this sketching useful. It is a little bit hard for me to set it up all the time, but I'll try to do it as often as possible, mainly because I tend to sketch on the go when I have some spare time, and then I might just fill it in later on in the week when I have time to sit down and film it for you. I'm keeping it simple with the dates again, just by doing like what I call like the Scrabble tile header, and I'm just going to put the little dates in that, and I'm doing the 6 days again. I think if you were going to do the 8 days, or by 8 days I mean 7 days plus a notes section, I would just make the artwork a little bit smaller in the right hand corner. Or if you're just doing the 7 days, you just need to move it slightly over a little bit, maybe like reverse the caravan, and then you'll be able to fit in an extra day to the left of its nose. What I'm doing now is I'm using the Rotring Isograph pen to just do the line work. This is a 0.1. It's actually super, super fine, and I tend to prefer to outline something with the Pentel pocket brush pen. If you watch some of my earlier videos, I use that quite a bit, but the only reason I switched over to it this time because I wanted the line work to be lighter and a little bit more delicate. When you're using something like the Pentel pocket brush pen, it already has a lot of variation in the line itself. When you use something like the Rotring, it's super duper like consistent in the line work. it's a technical pen. We use it in architecture, basically do technical drawings, and the line has to be the same all the way through. So that's kind of why I'm using it this time around. I don't want the variation in the line work, I want the variation with the watercolor instead. So a big thank you to everyone who commented last week about what type of theme I should be doing. I've been thinking about a lot actually, and I think I might try the wildflowers idea. I haven't done I think flowers since June or so last year. So I had decided to keep doing one more week of the sweets theme. February feels super long because I don't normally get 5 illustrations in, but it's because I started February a little bit early because I had skipped January because I was away. So I will be doing a plan with me video for March for the next week, and because I have a little bit of time, I can ask you guys what type of spreads you would like to see. So if there's any type of trackers or anything like that, I can try and design those into the beginning of the journal, just so you guys can see how I would go about it. So if you have anything in particular that you're interested in, I'll try and include it, especially if I can find a use for it. What you can see now is I've just set up a few of my painting gear. I had actually moved it off the table because Humphrey kept walking over and sticking his paw in the water and chucking it onto my page because, I don't know, he's really angry at me because I spent a lot of the week away working late because I had an exhibition opening and everything went fine, but obviously he's not very happy with me because I could obviously spend more time petting him. I've set up a little, you can see a little I think napkin to the left, and that's always really important because you want to wipe off the excess water, and I always have that to the side. I always wipe the tip of my Rotring actually, that's Humphrey again, trying to, you know, assert his authority, and I always just try to, you know, wipe everything onto the napkin just to remove anything excess and give me a little bit more control over the paint. It also means that sometimes if I want a dry brush, because using a dry brush you get a different technique, I have that there just to wipe it off as well. I'm still using the same palette that I've been using all month, just the right, and I've just been saving the colours, so it's been really handy. It means that I haven't had to replace the colours. It's been a lot less wastage. I just let it dry overnight until I use it again and just re-wet it with water. What the added bonus of this is also that over the past couple of weeks I've also had a very consistent colour palette, so it kind of looks more like harmonious as one set of like one theme set. And I'll try and do a flip through in February for you as well, so I'll try and do that at the beginning of the March video so you can kind of see how I've used the spreads throughout the month. A lot of you asked me about holding a paintbrush. You notice that I hold my paintbrush a lot like how I hold my pen actually, and I discovered this after I managed to buy like a better quality brush that actually snapped to a point. Some of the synthetic brushes are pretty good, like the Princeton glacier brushes that I've been using, as well as these the Isabey brushes, which are a little bit more expensive, but because they do snap to a point and you can get a lot more control over it. I mean, when I was younger I used to buy the really cheap brushes and they'd all fray and like the little hairs would fall out, and I found those really difficult to control. But now that I kind of understand better, I just hold the brush like I would hold a pen, and it means that I can have just a little bit more like I can understand how it paints a little bit better because a pen is much more comfortable for me. So if you're having struggles with that, just try and find a brush that is the kind of thickness that you're used to using. You also notice that that was before actually. What I'm doing now is I'm just diluting a splodge of paint, which I didn't realize it happened because what happened was Humphrey had stepped in my palette then onto my page and left a little smudge, and I was just trying to lift the colour off the page by putting a whole bunch of water on it and dabbing it off. It did help, but it didn't remove it completely. That's just a little trick that you can do if your cat walks onto your page and puts paw prints on it. If you get a really nice paw print though, I reckon you could integrate that into your spread, but in my case it was more of like a furry smudge. So I had to alter that way. Now I can't remember what I was talking about just before. I'm a little bit sleep deprived actually, but still trying to finish this on time for you guys. But yeah, so the other thing that I find super handy is that I just kind of am very forgiving of myself. Like when you go closer to a lot of my drawings, you notice that I don't really colour in the lines, mainly because I'm too lazy to change my paintbrush to a finer brush, but also because it's in my journal. I kind of want to just have a nice fun illustration to move forward quickly. If I'm doing like commission work or illustrations for more important things that I put in, like for other people or for myself as to sell as prints, I'm more likely to spend more time just to make sure it's more careful. But with the watercolor, I kind of layer up the color, so it doesn't really matter if I go out of line a little bit. I honestly think it just adds to the character of your drawing, so don't be too harsh on yourself. If you sit there for a really long time trying to get everything in the lines, what you'll find is your paint will clump up on one side and you'll get the streakiness, especially if you're painting on journal paper. So just move fast and have fun with it. So if you're sitting there and you're spending too long on it, you're just going to get a lot more mistakes because you're moving a lot slower as well. Actually, when we're in architecture school and I'm teaching students how to draw like confidence circles and lines, I'll just tell them to move a little bit faster. It's actually funny because like the slower you move, the more likely your hand will cause wiggles in the line work. I've drawn Humphrey sitting on the top of the van again in his position where you've got the paws at the front. I don't know why I love drawing him in that position so much. Probably because when he does it in real life, I reckon he looks like an old grumpy man. And I don't know, it makes me very, very happy. But on good news, I got news that I'll be able to bring home Hermione on the 9th of March. I'm super excited. My husband's already set up the house completely so that we can slowly integrate her with Humphrey. I really hope they get along because, you know, we wanted to get a friend for him that he could hang out with during the day because he seems a little bit lonely sometimes, but, you know, that might just be me projecting onto him. So I'm really, really hoping they get along. But otherwise, yeah, it's been quite a busy month. I'm so glad the exhibition went well. I showed some pictures of it on my Instagram, on my stories, so thank you so much for everyone who commented with such lovely comments. Everyone worked really, really hard. I'm super duper proud of all my students. But yeah, here is my final spread for my February Sweets month, sorry. I really, really love this month. I think it was super cute. It's been bad for my health though. I kept on wanting to eat cake. But here's my little Swiss roll caravan. And I hope you guys found that video useful. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys next week. Bye!